If the sun stopped shining at this exact moment, you would still have 8 minutes and 20 seconds of perfectly normal life. You might be walking in daylight, drinking coffee, or looking up at a blue sky, completely unaware that every ray touching your skin is part of the last light Earth will ever receive. Then, the entire world goes dark. The question is not whether humanity would be in trouble. The question is, how long could we survive? First, one important distinction. This is a thought experiment. The real sun cannot simply switch off like a lamp, and it will continue shining for billions of years. In our scenario, the sun keeps its mass, so Earth remains in orbit. It simply stops producing light and heat. That lets us focus on one terrifying question. When Earth's energy engine stops, what fails first? For the first 8 minutes and 20 seconds, nobody sees anything unusual. Sunlight has to cross roughly 150 million kilometers of space before it reaches Earth. Astronomers might know that something has happened at the sun, but that information cannot reach us faster than light. Then the final photons arrive. The daylight side of Earth turns to night in an instant. There is no long red sunset. The sky simply goes dark in a way no human has ever seen.
The moon disappears too, because moonlight is reflected sunlight. The other planets fade from view for the same reason. Only the distant stars, producing their own light, remain. But Earth does not freeze instantly. The ground, buildings, atmosphere, and especially the oceans have stored an enormous amount of solar heat. During the first hours, the world would feel more like an unnaturally fast, increasingly cold night than the surface of Pluto. This is humanity's brief chance to organize. It is also the time we would probably waste in confusion. Streetlights come on, phones still work, cars still move. Many power stations continue operating. But every solar panel stops producing electricity. Satellites that depend on sunlight switch to batteries, and global demand for lighting and heat rises at the same time. Meanwhile, the largest factory on Earth shuts down. It has no walls or smokestacks, and it covers much of the planet. That factory is photosynthesis. Plants, algae, and phytoplankton do not die immediately. They have stored energy. But new food production from sunlight has stopped, and the surface food web begins its countdown that very minute. After 24 hours, most cities are not yet frozen solid. A more immediate danger is already building.
Billions of people need fuel, heaters, food, water, and reliable information all at once. Roads clog, supply chains stall, stores empty. Some power grids collapse under loads they were never built to carry. Countries with nuclear power, stored fuel, hydroelectric systems, or geothermal resources gain an advantage. But no modern country was designed to function forever without the sun. Even hydropower has a clock on it. The water cycle that lifts water into the sky is driven by solar energy. Without normal evaporation and rainfall, and with rivers beginning to freeze, a renewable resource slowly becomes a limited one. Over the next several days, temperatures fall rapidly. Simple estimates often place the global average below freezing within roughly a week, although the real number would vary enormously with location, season, clouds, wind, and distance from the sea. Coastal cities cool more slowly than places deep inside continents because the ocean is a planetary heat battery. Water can store huge amounts of energy and release it more slowly than land. That advantage buys time. It does not stop the countdown. Crops begin to fail. Ordinary greenhouses become useless without light.
Farm animals consume stored feed, while trucks, machinery, and heating systems compete for the same fuel. The first thing to kill vast numbers of people might not be the cold itself. It could be the collapse of the systems that once carried food and energy to them. What about oxygen? Movies often suggest that when plants stop making oxygen, everyone begins suffocating a few days later. But Earth's atmosphere contains an immense oxygen reserve. Humanity would run out of accessible food and heat long before the planet ran out of breathable oxygen. Suffocation is not the first clock counting down. The first clock is food. The second is energy. The third is our ability to cooperate, while every nation is competing for resources that shrink by the hour. After several weeks, lakes and parts of the ocean surface begin freezing. Ice floats on top and acts like a blanket, slowing the loss of heat from the water below. That is why the oceans would not freeze from the surface all the way to the seafloor at once. Beneath a thickening lid of ice, liquid water could remain for a very long time. That does not help cities on the surface. Falling temperatures burst pipes, stop water systems, disable engines, and make many materials brittle beyond the conditions they were designed to survive.
Eventually, snowfall becomes less common, not because Earth is warming, but because brutally cold air holds little water vapor. Once ice seals the oceans, one of the planet's largest sources of moisture is cut off. Earth slowly changes from a blue planet into a black, frozen desert. Suppose humanity had enough warning to prepare. Who would have the best chance of surviving? It would not simply be the person with the largest pile of canned food. Every stockpile eventually ends. Long-term survivors would need energy that does not depend on sunlight, such as nuclear power or geothermal heat. They would need to move underground, use rock as insulation, and build systems that recycle water and air. Food would have to come from electrically lit farms, fungi, algae, microbes, or proteins produced inside closed systems. Every calorie would carry an energy cost. In that world, money might matter less than engineers, repair technicians, microbiologists, doctors, seeds, and spare parts for water pumps. The hardest problem might not be technological. It would be keeping a small society functioning through darkness, with no morning, no seasons, and no help coming from outside. Reactors require maintenance. Grow lights require replacement parts. Children still need education.
Conflicts must be resolved. People must keep believing that tomorrow has meaning, even when tomorrow looks exactly like today. After roughly 1 year, an estimate from a Caltech planetary scientist suggests that Earth's surface temperature could fall below 200 Kelvin, around minus 70 degrees Celsius. Most of the surface would be uninhabitable. Parts of the atmosphere could eventually change state as cooling continued, while cities disappeared beneath darkness, ice, and silence. But here is the twist. Earth is not dead. In the deep ocean, entire communities have never depended directly on sunlight. Around hydrothermal vents, microbes create food using energy from chemical reactions. The process is called chemosynthesis. Tube worms, shellfish, crabs, and other strange organisms can depend on a food chain that begins with the chemistry of rock and water, not light from the sky. Microbes deep beneath the ground could also persist. Earth's internal heat does not vanish when sunlight does. Over an immense span of time, the surface would cool until the tiny flow of geothermal heat balanced the energy radiating into space. Humans would have almost no chance on the open surface, but forms of life might continue beneath our feet.
Humanity might not become extinct on the first day, the first week, or even the first year. A few underground communities with enough energy, knowledge, and carefully closed systems might survive far longer. But the world of billions of humans would disappear quickly, because the sun does more than make daytime bright. It drives wind, rain, and ocean currents. It grows our food, powers ecosystems, and stores warmth in the sea every day without asking us to notice. Now look again at an ordinary beam of sunlight crossing your window. It traveled 150 million kilometers. It took 8 minutes and 20 seconds to arrive. And when it reached you, it did more than reveal the world. It is the reason this world still has a tomorrow.